one moment of surrender can go a long way in your life. It doesn't have to be I'm surrendering every single day of my life and this is what it is. I've had it to where at the right moments when you surrender the one time changes your entire life. That's it. Because to me it's the act of it and what it does for you, right? So to me, it's like you build up to it. It's harder. It's harder at higher levels to surrender, of course, because there's a lot more to lose, right? But it stretches you in the best ways.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole question around the final surrender and when we leave and what happens to our energy. But one of the things I wanted to dive into, because I just wanted to, there's a perfect segue here. What we're discussing is there are people tuning into this podcast that have really remarkable businesses of their own and they're on their path. Is like you mentioned this, making in a day what you made in a year.
Yeah.
And I think, the energy kind of work kind of gone, wait, what's possible? Which I love that. And the interesting piece there is, do you like working with, let's just call them a founder, working with a founder, obviously their energy work impacts the organization to a certain degree, right? But then also, do you ever do are there the business as an entity, does that ever require energy work? Do you ever do energy work on a
Sure.
business as an entity as well? Two questions.
It's a good question. I mean, I my first love has always been entrepreneurship, so I'm always like lots of different business investments on the side and stuff like that. But I work with a lot of people that are have the biggest companies in the world, like founders of the biggest social media. They're founders or CEOs. I work with people that deal with a lot of people, and what I've realized, it depends on the size of the organization. Like if it's a smaller size, a lot of the times, right? I've seen it actually. Let me change it again. It depends on also who's leading it. If you have somebody who is potent and they have strong energy and they can move the needle, they can do that for an organization with, you know, a few 100,000, a few million people. They can do it. If from the top you've got it, that helps, right? And to me, yeah, you can do work on organization, but it's not as important as the people in it. So to me, it always starts at the top, right? It always starts at the top, and it because that energy can be felt throughout the entire organization. The top is what feeds the energy, the fuel. You know, it's they set the tone, the vibration. So if you've got someone on the top that's kind of weak, it's floundering. You don't know who they are. They're kind of like one way here, one way there. Like it can be challenging. But if you have someone that's like they're solid in it, it makes a huge difference. So I really believe that and if you look at it, if you look at humanity, if you look and you study ascended masters and people who've changed the world, like you don't need a lot. You have people that are past, they're long gone, and they did their work so well, they shine so bright, they had so much potency that even after they're gone, they're still affecting billions of lives, right? So to me, where there's the Buddhas, the Jesus, the Gandhis, I think that's what we're missing as humanity, is that knowing that we have that within, the power that we have, that if we, evolve to our full potential, embrace that and shine, the power of one is so underrated, right? We only think it's reserved for the few, but I'm like, no, we have it. It's just they had the passion, the courage, the guts to go for it full force, and that's the effect. So that's why, to me, a lot of the times, that's what I work on with people, is realizing that a lot of what they have, a lot of what they seek, a lot of what they think is missing, it's all within. It's just that there's so many mental blocks at times, or energetic blocks, or rules that prevent us from even thinking or even knowing what's possible, right? So I think that's why I love it when you're like, it's evolution, because that's what it is. And I don't even know how to call it, because I feel like we were there, we go into this planet, and and then we forget everything, and they're returning back to the knowledge that we've acquired that's infinite and expansive in nature. So a lot of it is it evolving, or is it returning, right? Because to me, it's like when I see people return back to their natural state, it's like it's magic, right? It's magic. So to me, it's like maybe it's evolving as a human, but returning to your soul. Maybe it's both. Maybe there's more than two ways to it. But to me, it's like we're just capable of so much more than we can even imagine. And if I look at my life, like I could have stopped 7 years ago, and that was my the goal of how far my mind could go. Right now, I'm living in uncharted territories. I don't know where I am, how I got here. I don't know what's next. I'm out of my comfort zone. There is no path ahead of me, and I'm building certainty, building the bridge as I'm walking it because I've never been here. And every time I go to a place that I'm like I just get comfortable and get used to it, then I'm growing again and it's uncertain, right? So to me, where I am right now, I could have never imagined it. Never imagined it.
What is it about the last 7 years that's been so uncertain? You didn't have a vision as of after that point.
I mean, just the level of how fast things can happen. Because a lot of things, and a lot of times people are like, they're not prepared for it. Not prepared for it. And a lot of times people are like, hey, Oliver, like, I want, I'll give you an example. I had a one gal who was like, I want abundance in life. And we did energy work. She went to one of our programs. And, and I tell people, the biggest thing you got to prepare for is what if you get that abundance before you're even ready. Because a lot of times people have rules. So like when someone launches a business, they're like, oh, I gotta get an LLC, I gotta get a domain, I gotta get the branding, I gotta get this, SEO that. There's all these different steps. And then maybe 7 months later I can do this. Right? And to me, like, what if, this big thing that you want, shows up day one, week two, people freak out. And to me, a lot of times those expectations become the blocks because I've seen people that are like, yeah, it'll take me a while to get there. And then one gal in our workshop, like she's like, yeah, I think I need an extra 6 figures in my business, but I think I have to do this, launch this one, and the next thing you know, she comes back home, and then that week Monday, they get a check for 120,000 because someone had locked a contract with them, and they just showed up in her desk, and her team members put it in there, and she was like, how, what? And I'm like, when you're in the right vibration, things come, and the hardest thing is to get on board with it's okay to break all the rules with speed of how fast it comes, right? And a lot of times that happens. People are like, I want to manifest love, but I have to love myself. I have to do this. I have to get a job, da 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 da. And the next thing your soulmate comes in, and they're like, they self-sabotage because they're like, oh, I'm not ready for you yet because in order to get to you, I need to have more pain, and more work, and they push it off. So to me, that's one of the big things that we're wired is like, what would you do if what you want comes tomorrow, comes this week? And how can you prepare for it and not push it away? Because a lot of times it happens. What you want comes before you're ready. You push it away because you've got rules of how it has to look like. And then when you feel worthy or ready, then you take that step.
Hey there, Inspired Evolutionary. If you absolutely love this, well, then here's a full conversation with this guest on the Inspired Evolution podcast. Check it out now.